Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, whatever time it is for you guys that are catching up with us here at the On the Gun Line Podcast YouTube channel. Thank you for stopping on by. I am D-Lo, and today I'm coming to you with a brand new word on the screen. All right, and with that being said, y'all, everybody knows, or anybody who knows me or has been following me for some time, knows that I do support Donald Trump. That is who I support for the presidency of the United States on this next upcoming election, especially over Mrs. Kamala Harris, who I believe earned her job in not the most of ethical ways. However, I am also one of those that will call a spade a spade. When I smell bullshit, I call bullshit. And Trump, you got some bullshit today that you got to clear up, man. I tried to give it a few days to see if he would backtrack it or, maybe stand corrected on his comments that he had said regarding the decrease in crime and murders out in the country of El Salvador. Now, it hits home to me because my father is Salvadoran, my mom's Nicaraguan, but in 1994 my parents moved me to El Salvador, and I lived out there from January of 1994 through December of 1994. And I could tell you, I I seen some poverty out there, and I learned to value what I have here in America, and as well as I learned to see what war does to a country. And El Salvador had just gotten out of a decades long civil war that pretty much was one of the, I would say, leading factors to the country turning into such a violent and full of criminal situation that was going on up there. So, anyways, the reason that I'm doing this is because I happened to see it was bothering me that he never walked it back or admitted that, hey, you know what, the reason that El Salvador is prospering now with less crime is because of President Bukele's tough on crime acts that he has. So, anyways, what we'll do, I got this video that I got from skynews.com.au. Shout out Sky News. Hopefully, you don't copyright me, but then again, it's not like I'm monetized anyway. So, if you guys do want to help a brother's channel grow, do me a quick solid, man. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, comment, and share. That's the biggest thing I could ask for you to support me in order to continue the growth of this channel and of myself as well. I can only get better. I can't go back. I can't regress, yo. But if you do want to help with some funds, hey, I'll take $1 or two. Go to PayPal. I have PayPal. You'll look for it on the gunline at gmail.com. Or I do got Cash App, and you can find me there with the money sign and then DEELOW, DEELOW, 1977. So just want to throw that out there. But the biggest thing I ask of you is if you could just subscribe, comment, and like, and I would really, 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 really appreciate that. So with that being said, let's go ahead and let's listen to Donald Trump. And I have to play this in two ways. Well, not two ways, but from the end to the beginning, being that it starts off with, well, you'll see what I mean. They should have put the second half in the first half is what I should say. So anyway, with that said, let's go ahead and get this bad boy started. For another conservative favorite, who is Donald Trump. I'll be reading it. During his RNC speech, Trump took an unexpected jab at Bukele despite their previously reported friendship. So Trump and Bukele, Trump really dug Bukele, talked highly and respectful of him. And Bukele, on the other hand, as well, admires Trump. He wants to emulate Trump. And he kind of, I guess he digs the style and his persona, the way that he projects himself. So, I mean, he has spoken very highly of Trump. But with these jabs, as they say, he took towards Bukele, Well, we'll see what happens. During his July 18 speech, Trump claimed rising crime rates were due to countries putting their criminals here, which is wrong. He targeted Bukele and claimed the murder rate in El Salvador is down only because they're sending their murderers to the USA. Again, incorrect.
In El Salvador, murders are down by 70%. Why are they down?
Because Bukele locked their asses
Now,
up.
he would have you convinced that because he's trained murderers to be wonderful people. No. They're down because they're sending their murderers to the United States of America. This is going to be very bad.
So, I mean, as you can see, I mean, and I think the majority of America knows because I've seen a lot of commentary, a lot of social media where many, many Americans are praising El Salvador's president, Nayib Bukele. And what appears to be a response to Trump's remarks, Bukele posted on X, formerly known as Twitter, that he's taking the high road, which is good. It's really good because honestly, I'm sure he's going to probably do it offline where he discusses it with him or, with one of someone from his delegation, because honestly, why get into a war of words on social media when all that's going to do is just cause more tension between the the parties and the countries involved. So yeah, there he goes. He said, I'm just taking the high road, baby. And hey, props to Nayib. Props. After surviving an assassination attempt, Trump hit the campaign trail at the RNC with a rally in Michigan where he repeated his whatever
So
that
El
said.
Salvador is an interesting one because I know the president. He's a young guy, and he's been getting this great press.
Well-deserved press.
His crime rate's way down, and they're training their criminals. Well, you don't train criminals, okay? Maybe every once in a while you get lucky, but you don't. So in El Salvador, murders are down 70%. He said, yes, we're teaching. He's different. Most of them just say, well, the United States is stupid, so we're dumping all our criminals.
I don't know where he's
he does
getting
it
this.
Differently, smart. Because we're working with our people that are causing problems and crime. And he's not working with them. He's dumping them in the United States. And their crime rate, their murder rate is down 72%.
And I don't 73%. See where he's right as far as the numbers go, the percentages of the crime rate, how it's decreased, but that they're coming over here, not so much. If anything, President Nayib Bukele's actions have prevented many of them to come back up this way.
And going up. And I don't blame him because if I was running one of those countries, and we're not just talking in South America, but if I were running one of those
Central
countries,
America.
I would have been doing it much more. They're also emptying their jails. The big thing is their jails. Those jails were packed.
Whoever sent them his information should be fired.
Isn't this wonderful? They're doing such a wonderful job. They're dumping their criminals into the United States of America, and we're not going to take it anymore.
All right, calm down, twisted sister. So again, rhetoric that he is using to definitely flame up his like hardcore, MAGA Trumpers that don't do their own research. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that all of us are like that, because we're not. And again, we're all human. We all make mistakes, and we all probably, I don't know if he's actually being told this information and reporting it that way, but definitely whoever's feeding him his information should be fired, like absolutely fired, because that in no way is correct. None whatsoever. Trump's claims against El Salvador and Bukele are false, according to PolitiFact. According to the data from El Salvador's National Police, in 2023, El Salvador reported a 70% drop in homicides compared to 2022. Now, I don't know why they're showing these fools over here playing like, that they're, singing Kumbaya on the floor, because Those motherfuckers right there are straight up killers, murderers. Will cut you up with a machete without a second thought. The drop is well reported due to President Nayib Bukele's aggressive crackdown on crime, with no evidence suggesting Bukele's efforts involve sending prisoners to the U.S. Yeah, this isn't 1980. This isn't Scarface. This isn't the Cuban crime wave that came from that Castro had released, from Havana to or from Cuba to Florida. All right, this is not that. This is well documented that he has locked up over 100,000 criminals into these prisons. And whether a lot of people think that it's inhumane, I think it was a necessity because these guys are not gangbangers, they're not gangsters, these are terrorists. These are straight up terrorists in their own country who they're just criminals, dude. Honestly, they're just criminals because gangbanging they're doing it in the with the guise of gang banging and gangsters, but unfortunately, it's not right. It's completely incorrect. Now, when I had moved to El Salvador in '94, there wasn't a big influx of gang members out there. There was some 18s, and there were some fools from MS. MS being the deepest one because that's where they're from, right? Or well, not where it originated from, but the fools that got sent back first, I guess during the time was a lot of them were from MS. So, anyways, moving on. What I'm trying to say is the gangbanging was starting there at that time, and it was predominantly between hoods per se. I recall this very well. May or may not have participated in some of that stuff, and again, it was usually between towns because like one town like Cojutepeque that was like straight up all MS, and then you had another town or a colonia out in San Salvador, which would be all 18th Street. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, it was just stuff like that, or it could have been like another one like San Juan del Monte. I think that was what it was called. Was 18th Street town, Suchitoto. Anywho, that's nor here nor there. But what I'm saying is, it was like that in the mid 90s, or yeah, in the mid 90s, '94 when I was there. That's when it was starting to become more of a nuisance and problem because a lot of cats kept getting deported, during the mid 90s, late 90s, going back over there. And it overflowed. I'm talking about in that one year that I was there. I know I ran into a couple of homies and all that were, well, a couple of fellas that they had gotten deported, from different cliques and whatnot. And then I ran into some food from the other side. But anyway, you know what? That's not here nor there. That's not what we're talking about. So, anyways, the reduction has to do with the prisoners, the inmates that are in that new prison that he built. The largest prison, by the way, in the Western Hemisphere, I want to say it is, or in the Americas. Either way, I agree with what he's doing because these guys are just straight up killing, not just them between each other, but they're killing families. They're killing women, children, whoever's there. It don't fucking matter. They're gonna take them out. So yeah. All these guys, they're not there for being, these guys are not there for being the most friendly people in the world. El Salvador has been under a state of emergency since March 2022 due to gang violence. The violence was real, y'all. It was bad. The order suspends rights to association, assembly, communication, privacy, arrest reasons, and judicial review within 72 hours, reports Human Rights Watch. Human rights activists have been really going after Nayib. The order sparked international condemnation, including from the U.S., over abuses like arbitrary killings, disappearances, and tortures in El Salvador. It be like that sometimes. Trump claims Bukele is sending all of his criminals to the U.S., yet El Salvador prisons population has increased in recent years, according to the Insight Crime. In 2020, the prison population was around 37,000. In 2023, exceeded over 105,000 per inside crime, 105,000. Now, what you need to understand now is El Salvador is probably roughly the size of LA County. All right. It's roughly the size of LA County, mountainous, volcanoes, and extremely overpopulated. Extremely overpopulated, which again, a civil war lasting a decade didn't help. Granted, that ended in the 90s. I get it. But the deportation also didn't help. And I'm not making excuses for why the country is the way that it is, but it did have a lot of corrupt politicians, a lot of corrupt presidents who would pocket the money that was sent to them, and then would just one of them actually split. He chucked deuces, so he took millions upon millions. So yeah, that's what they're dealing with. And so Nayib, what a lot of people are scared of in El Salvador politics, from my understanding, from my family that I have out there. Some are very worried that he's going to take this into a dictatorship, kind of like how Daniel Ortega took over Nicaragua. And I know that because my mom was Nicaraguense. So, I kind of got a little bit, just a little bit of knowledge on both of those countries. So, anywho, that's what people are saying that he's going to do. And then you have others saying that that's what Trump is going to try to do. What Nayib is doing over there, he's going to try to implement that here. That won't happen because, once again, El Salvador is a country the size of maybe LA County with about 6 million people in it. And then the US is a huge motherfucking country, and miss me with that goddamn Project 2025 bullshit. Trump's remarks are in stark contrast to those of his son, Donald Jr., and MAGA Republicans like Matt Gaetz. And this is what I'm going to get at. I'm going to have to take it back to the beginning where they were in there. Trump's remarks might be a diplomatic misstep, and his future administration will need to collaborate with El Salvador's president on migration and drug issues. That's right. As president, Trump made deals with El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras to have asylum seekers request protection there first before coming to the U.S. And I think that was the best option that we had regarding migration over here. The Biden administration then rescinded these Trump-era safe third country agreements in February 2021, and we saw how great that worked. No before Kamala. If Trump wants future cooperation, his comments should be considered as an interesting approach. All right, cool. So that's the second half of it, right? So I want to show you the first half of this video, and I'll try to stay a little more quiet.
Matt Gaetz from Florida, and I serve on our committees in the Congress that deal with the military and our justice system. The people in the United States of America are very grateful for the state of exception, and we're grateful that CCOT exists so that these criminals are not harming the people of El Salvador or harming the people of the United States. A lot of the people behind me would have found a way to make their way to the United States and harm Americans. And we are grateful to President Bukele and his administration for establishing security and the state of exception, and for all the good work that the people do here to keep everyone else safe. El Salvador is a country on the rise because people are safe and they are hopeful and they will be prosperous and they will grow great families and great churches and great businesses. And all of that is possible because the people here are not committing the murders and committing the rapes and the robberies and all the things that stop a strong country from standing up and fulfilling its great destiny. Well, in past years, I think the United States Congress has been too willing to lump El Salvador in with Honduras and Guatemala on our policies. And we formed the El Salvador caucus because El Salvador deserves its own respect. It deserves its own relationship directly with the United States that isn't colored by what else is going on in Central America or with your neighbors. We think the good ideas in El Salvador actually have legs and can go to other places and help other people be safe and secure and hopeful and prosperous. There's a lot more discipline in this.
So just take a look at that complex right there. That is a mega prison. All right. They call it, well, it's just a mega prison. All right. It's a center for terrorists, or that's what it's in Spanish. I'm not going to do all that shit. I stopped be translated a long time ago. But anywho, what I'm saying is that these fellas are like probably like what would be like 80X Supermax or out there in fucking Florence. You know what I'm saying? So that federal pen, I would kind of probably consider it to that. And as you can see, these cats are in there. They're locked up all day, all night. You know what I'm saying? They don't get sunshine, and that motherfucker barely feeds them. Again, you can say that it's inhumane. A lot of these cats are not in there for doing humane things. They're in there for forcing themselves upon others. For if you know what I'm saying, read between the lines on that, as well as multiple breathing stoppages of many people.
Prison than we see in a lot of the prisons in the United States. And there are a lot more murderers here. The people here have been doing a lot of killing. And in the United States, you get a mix in prison of people who've done a variety of things. But this is a concentrated effort to solve what was a terrible problem for the people of El Salvador. And so this is the solution. The solution is to...
There it is. Centro de Confinamiento
separate the killer
del terrorismo. That's what I thought. So yeah, so that right there is the solution. So give me 1 second. Let's see. My boy Kowalski hit me up. All right, I'm ready when you are. Okay. Hey dog, give me about 5 more minutes. I'm wrapping up an episode right now on Donald Trump talking about the Salvadoran migration. Hopefully you check it out, dog. Anyways, let me just wrap this up and I'll be out there in a second for our date night. Ciao. All right, that's my homeboy Kowalczyk. He was actually my co-host here for like 6 months when I first started it. And anyways, let's go ahead and finish this off.
From the people who want to grow in their life and do more things for their neighbors and for their country.
Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz visited El Salvador's mega prison last week. Gaetz praised the Salvadoran leader's efforts to crack down on gang violence through his Terrorism Containment Center CapCut initiative. In a video released on Sunday, Gaetz thanked the Salvadoran administration for ensuring inmates are not harming the people of El Salvador or the United States. 100%. Bukele, calling himself the world's coolest dictator and philosopher king, has won conservatives' admiration for his harsh crackdown on gangs. After visiting El Salvador in 2023, Republican Senator Marco Rubio praised Bukele and called the country a bright spot in the region. Believe it or not, El Salvador is now the safest country in the Western Hemisphere. And I want y'all to think about that. It's the safest country. It went from the deadliest, most homicidal to now the safest. They just had the Miss Universe there, you know, and he's built, I think he has a Bitcoin plant that's being built there. Many things are being upgraded and it's beginning to prosper. And I enjoy seeing that as a Salvadoran because when I was there, like I said, it was still recovering from that civil war that they had. So being able to see my countrymen being able to strive and succeed, I love seeing that, man. And so this also should kill that narrative that people are coming up here from El Salvador specifically seeking asylum, because there's nothing to seek asylum from out there right now. You know, there is nothing to seek asylum from. Now, Venezuela, I got you. Nicaragua, I got you. I feel you. All those other countries, though, I really don't see how you could claim political asylum or refugee status if you're really not in a situation that warrants it. You know, I get it. The economies suck 100%. I know it. I've seen the poverty. When I lived in El Salvador, I'll tell you this. When I lived in El Salvador, the money was still called a colon. All right. And a $1 equaled 8 colones. All right. Now, here's the thing about that. When I worked up there, I made 30 colones a day. All right. 30 colones a day. That's roughly around a little, maybe over or under $3. We'll just say $3 a day. And I was working my fucking ass off out there in the hot sun, cleaning aluminum sheets with acid, bro, in the hot sun out there. So, and it's tropical, my baby. It's tropical as fuck. So, anywho, continuing.
They elect a new president, Nayib Bukele, and he takes office and he gets the legislative branch to give him special powers for a special period for a limited time, and he uses it to go out and round up all the gang members and put 30 or 40,000 of them in jail. And guess what? All of a sudden, the crime rate has plummeted. All of a sudden, the murder rate has plummeted. All of a sudden, for the first time in decades, people can go out at night. All of a sudden, for the first time in decades, people don't have to pay extortion money to a gang anymore.
That extortion money he's talking about, they call it renta. And basically what would happen is, like, for example, I have a brother-in-law out there who ran a taxi company. And so whatever local neighborhood was right there will come and tell him you got to pay rent. And he had to pay up. And if he didn't pay up, well, things could go wrong. We'll just say that. You know what I'm saying? You could lose your business or you could lose your life. So he'd rather just lose some money. At the end of the day, unfortunately, it's that's a trait that they brought back from Cali. I'll tell you what, South Central, where I grew up, was rough, was bad. It, in its own way, was fucking ruthless. But you go to the west side of LA, you go to the MacArthur Park area where the Crazy Riders are at, where the MS are at, where fucking 18th is, where shit. Just go to the Westlake District, Koreatown, but specifically right there at MacArthur Area Park. You'll see a get down that shit was fucking crazy, dog. I'll tell you that. And the reason I know that is because I used to go to my nephew who's from a barrio over there. And I'm just saying, I know because I know. Have things changed? I don't know. That I don't know. I doubt it. But anywho, I'm gonna move on. This is the picture that was there originally when it started. So this was during the inauguration for Bukele. Last month, journalist Tucker Carlson attended Bukele's inauguration alongside Republicans like Gates and Senator Mike Lee and Donald Trump Jr. So you see, it's beautiful to see El Salvador getting the shine that it deserves as it's growing. Unfortunately, look, man, the people of El Salvador have always been shit on forever and a day, especially when they were coming from El Salvador during the 80s, the 70s and 80s, coming through Mexico. And even when they got to this to LA, they were shit on even harder out there by the Mexicans too. And I know this because, again, I grew up in LA, and being a Salvi, luckily my homeboys, my homies, they never tripped on me like that. Yeah, we'll get clowned on here and there, but the clowning went back and forth. However, there were others that were Mexican that would be like, this fool ain't raza, or, they say shit like that, whatever. I'm not even going to get into that because that's a whole different topic for another day. But yeah, so it's great to see them getting their shine right here. I'm proud of El Salvador. I hope to see it come up. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, do me a favor, give me that thumbs up like I asked for, and subscribe once again, like, share, all that good stuff. And with that being said, that's going to be the end of this episode of Word on the Streets. I'm D-Lo, and I'm out. I'll catch y'all later, y'all.